I got some breaking Egypt news that includes some underground cisterns and then some World War II structures. Archaeologists have discovered some remarkable finds at the site of Darazia, and this is a site located approximately 100 kilometers west of Alexandria, Egypt. Now, in antiquity, it was known as the city of Derhis, and it was referenced by a couple different classical geographers, which is super cool. But to top it all off, there is this very interesting dual legacy, and that talks about how old a lot of these sites are, in that this site is relatively well known in the Greco-Roman period, but is also well known during the World War II period. So obviously, let's talk about the Greco-Roman structures first. And they actually were able to uncover 3 different distinct buildings, and they've labeled them as House H1, H2, and H3. In this case, this is going to be H1. And this is how it is actually looking, and they're actually going to go through conservation to preserve this even more. These houses are laid out in a very typical Greco-Roman period style where essentially the rooms are organized around a central courtyard. There is also fragments of stone altars and cornices found specifically here at H1 that does suggest the presence of a domestic cult practice, while there are also imported ceramics typically coming from the area of Cyprus. House H2, which they didn't provide an image of, is actually a little bit more elaborate and has in situ columns, and it appears that it may have served as an administration or even communal function. Now, one of the coolest discoveries that they made was these pair of subterranean cisterns, and they've designated these as C1 and C2. Now, these are carved into the limestone bedrock, and they are 5 meters high, and they have this very interesting quadrangular design with central pillars for support. And you can only access these via very, very narrow shafts, and the walls were probably lined with hydraulic mortar, which shows a little bit of the ingenuity of the Greco-Roman water management systems that were essential for this life in this kind of semi-arid region of Egypt. Here's a picture of that second cistern, which you can see they haven't really excavated yet, and these cisterns are both pretty dry. This entire complex dates around the 1st century CE. But now let's talk about this World War II structure that they also discovered. Unfortunately, they didn't provide any pictures, but what they actually discovered is that this area had a pivotal role in World War II, and it served as a stronghold for British forces in the Battle of El Alamein, and that was in 1942. So this site actually contains a network of 17 underground shelters connected by corridors and then reinforced with concrete. These structures are constructed from limestone blocks and reflect the strategic ingenuity that was employed during the war. The crazy thing about this is that this is actually going to be potentially opened as a tourist site in the future, and there are plans to actually make a visitor route that connects the ancient Mediterranean heritage with the World War II landmarks. And I think that is an absolutely wild and amazing idea, because you don't really think that archaeology of World War II is being done, but it is. And I think it's a really great way to connect the past with, technically, yes, the past, but more of the present, and to show, honestly, the similarities between the underground cisterns and the underground chambers that they were using in World War II.